There comes a time where a man must be honest. A time where he must bear the evil that rests within his soul for all to see. For me, that time has come. Witness my sin. I really like Lana Del Rey. Now, seeing as my demographic is almost exclusively young men between the ages of 13 and 30, and Lana Del Rey's demo is almost exclusively white women in their 20s who day drink, I feel some explanation might be required here. But if I just showed you some of her music, then her label would copyright claim my videos, and Daddy Cobbler wouldn't get to buy Skyrim tonight. And we wouldn't want that now, would we? Lana Del Rey's music, lyrically, is basically all about getting dicked down by emotionally distant men, and sometimes doing cocaine. I cannot relate to these things. I have impeccable taste in men, and I huff spray paint because I'm poor. But despite the fact that Lana's lyrics do not emotionally resonate with me at all, there's something about the vibe. There's this haunting but big sound to her music. Much of her music, at least the stuff that I like, sounds like the last performance of an orchestra the night before they disband, or like a lounge singer going through the motions in front of a nearly empty audience. It is grandiose but detached. I get nothing on a real emotional level from her lyrics, but at a certain point,
climb up the age of the Hollywood sign.
Style becomes substantial enough to be enjoyed on its own merits. But the thing is, the melancholy vocal performance and the sort of sweeping orchestra in the background don't really fit what the songs are actually about. I love the presentation, but this presentation doesn't really fit the lyrics that are my pussy tastes like Pepsi Cola. That is the opening lyric to one of her songs, and it is immediately preceded by a sweeping orchestra.
Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes, pussy is wet.
There is such a disconnect there. A disconnect between what the song sounds like and what it's actually saying. Her music is good, and I really enjoy it, but it's sort of inherently a letdown. Not so much because of what it is, but more so the fact that what it is hints at what it could be. This style is deserving of something more profound, something more tragic than her ex-boyfriends, or what her pussy allegedly tastes like. As time has gone on, and she sort of continued to do the same thing, I've just sort of come to terms with the fact that her music will never escape the shadow of what it could be. Anyway, let's talk about this game that you probably think I really love. Far Cry Blood Dragon was a standalone expansion to Far Cry 3, a game I love so much that it's sort of embarrassing. I'll talk about how much I like Lana Del Rey all day, I don't give a shit, but Far Cry 3? No, that's deeply shameful. I remember a few years back when I was at a bonfire with some old friends from high school, and I was talking to one of them when he said, "Alright, Cobbler, I haven't had a console the past few years, and you're the gang's resident virgin. Thank you." Not a compliment. Anyway, what's been going on with gaming the past few years? Oh, did you play Far Cry 3? Oh, yeah. Why? Every game is Far Cry 3 now. You climb towers, you take down strongholds, you tag enemies and stealth around them. You hunt, you craft, you play games so you can try and escape the tedious routine of life, only to watch your favorite hobby turn into a tedious routine in and of itself. Far Cry 3's core gameplay loop was great for a few reasons. It wouldn't have become the template for Ubisoft's assembly line otherwise. Taking down strongholds, climbing dilapidated radio towers, hunting and skinning tigers, marking targets and stealthing around them. These things are cool, when done right, and feel very rewarding. The sense of progression and difficulty curve is top-notch. The towers get taller, the outposts get bigger, the animals get tiger-y-er. But what put Far Cry 3 over the top, for me, was the presentation. The loading screens are essentially written Rorschach tests. There's a literal Rorschach test that shows when you drown, the bloody takedowns, the sun-drenched jungle, even the tribal tattoos work in this game. Even the healing system reinforces the feel of this game. You need to gather green plants to make drugs that heal you, but if you run out of drugs, well then instead you get these incredibly nasty and long animations. These punish you for not planning ahead, and sort of add this desperate, grimy feel to the combat. Far Cry 3 has an aesthetic. And that aesthetic extends to the gameplay. Climbing crumbling radio towers, crafting wallets out of animals, slaughtering hundreds of pirates. These are the actions of a fucking madman. Far Cry 3 is about turning into a fucking maniac in the jungle, and every part of the game reinforces that feeling. This gameplay loop works for this setting, with this story, and this presentation, and Ubisoft just fucking lifted it into every other game they make now without consideration for that. So what does this have to do with Far Cry Blood Dragon? I have homework for you. I want you to watch the following movies: Predator, Terminator 1 and 2, Mad Max 2, or The Road Warrior, you know, if you're from a cool country, Commando, Total Recall, Aliens, and True Lies. These are fantastic, balls-to-the-wall 80s action movies, except for True Lies, but it's sort of a swan song for that era of film. And it was also James Cameron's last good movie before he lost his goddamn mind at sea. It's great, just look at this.
You're fired.
Incredible. I love these movies. And they are so fucking stupid. It's fantastic. They have been parodied in the tour de force Kung Fury.
Game over.
In which the titular Kung Fury, who's a kung fu cop of course, goes back in time to kill Hitler. It's a hilarious and stupid movie, and this is what the action scenes look like. Kung Fury is, stylistically, butt-fucking insane. So, naturally, the action scenes are an extension of that same 80s coke-fueled excess.
Thank you.
Far Cry Blood Dragon set out to do much the same thing that Kung Fury does. It wants to be a love letter to, and a total piss take of, the 80s. Can I say piss take? Can you culturally appropriate British people? I mean, it's not a concept I really buy into, and there's not much worth appropriating, but am I gonna get stabbed to death by some furry with pronouns in their bio over this shit? Listen, they put beans on toast, can't say water bottle, and gave us John Oliver. They're clearly backwards savages that need us to bring them civilization. Blood Dragon is drenched in style, from the opening where you mow down dudes set to Long Tall Sally, to the climactic end where you ride a Blood Dragon cyborg. But between the big set pieces, the gameplay is Far Cry 3. You tag enemies, stealth around them, and do takedowns. Even the healing system from Far Cry 3 remains, despite the fact that it stylistically does not really fit in with what Blood Dragon is trying to be. This style demands ridiculous nonsense, and yet beyond these few scripted sequences, it's insanely run-of-the-mill. This game should feel fast, frenetic, impactful, just balls to the wall, non-stop.
Just let me go. Listen and understand. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse, and it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Okay? It doesn't need to be Doom Eternal, I swear. But something like it. Its presentation is such a throwback. The fact that it's got a terminal case of modern AAA illness is just terrible. Why is there even weapon reloading? Fun fact, the first gun that required reloading was not invented until 1990. Maybe Blood Dragon could have been Titanfall-esque, with crazy advanced movement. Maybe it could have deliberately evoked classic shooters and have been centered around circle strafing and an explosive and diverse arsenal of weapons. The point is this. Far Cry Blood Dragon is stylish and abrasive in every way, but where it really counts. There's a profound disconnect between the way that Blood Dragon looks and the way that it feels. But it was an expansion for Far Cry 3. There was a limit to what they could have conceivably done. If they completely retooled the gameplay, then they wouldn't be making an expansion to Far Cry 3, they would just be making a whole new game. Not even a Far Cry game. So why don't they do that? This concept for a first-person shooter that's both a parody of and a celebration of 80s excess? Jesus Christ, that is gold. That's not just a great idea, it's a safe idea. Publishers love safe ideas. Why the fuck hasn't this been made? Why don't they cut out the Far Cry and just make Blood Dragon, or Blood Dragon 2, I guess. A first-person shooter with fast and frenetic gameplay where you hunt and kill dinosaurs on a crazy 80s island. You know why there's no Blood Dragon 2. What was the last Ubisoft game you played that felt like it had a real personality? Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon both had personalities, albeit conflicting ones. Ubisoft doesn't do that. Not anymore. And they definitely do not consider what a game should look or feel like. They should all look and feel exactly the same. They take towers, strongholds, and stealth mechanics and they drop it into whatever the fuck they're selling that week. Blood Dragon is a good game that never quite manages to be great. That, in and of itself, is fine. The game should have been a jumping off point, because there's clear gold in this concept. But Ubisoft doesn't make anything that isn't Far Cry 3 anymore. So even if they were to return to this concept, they would fail to align the gameplay properly with the presentation. Style, when it's amplified to a certain level, can be substantial enough to be enjoyed in its own right. But if the style and content of a work don't match, then there's always going to be a limit to how good that work can be. Style can go really far when it comes to making something entertaining, but it still only goes so far. And that's really disappointing. Seeing unrealized potential. Liking what something is while knowing that you would love what it could be. Regardless, in Blood Dragon I see an unnecessary conflict. What could be one of my favorite games ever instead feels like a missed opportunity that will never get another shot.